Partisanship, left versus right, us versus them. While we pay to keep our politicians fighting, how do we, the people, rise up and solve the great challenges of our time? We do it by embracing freedom and liberty. There may be no such thing as a free lunch, but this hour is as close as it gets. Welcome to A Free Solution.
Welcome, everyone, to Free Solution. I'm Kevin Wilson, your host for today. Thank you so much for joining us. Appreciate you being here today on this wonderful Wednesday. Hope everyone had a good weekend, long weekend. Of course, remembering those who have died in overseas wars as well for Memorial Day. And yeah, so we're back here with a live show until 1 o'clock here on WYSL. Give us a call, 585-346-3000, if you want to participate in the conversation. Probably going to be talking mostly about parole reform, or at least first half of the show. Then I'll jump into a handful of other topics. So if you have thoughts on parole reform, give us a call, 585-346-3000. That's 585-346-3000. I think Larry touched on this a bit yesterday, but I'm going to go into specifically, this letter that the Monroe County District Attorney Sandra Dorley wrote, and a few other things. But before I go to that, shout out down the line to our friends over at WACK out in Newark and WENY, the Patriot down in the Southern Tier. Appreciate y'all listening here as well. And of course, hi to our friends listening online too. I don't want to forget about you guys over on the Free Solution Facebook page, on a Free Solution, the YouTube channel, and the Kevin Wilson page as well, for those who listen to me today. All right, so thanks again for joining us. All right, so we're gonna talk about some parole reform stuff going on, and I want to respond to this letter that Sandra Dorley put out last week. And it's interesting because it started some interesting debates among libertarians too. Like it's not so clear where the party, I guess, stands on it. Although the guy making the most noise on on one of the posts I saw about his extra Green Party guy, which is weird. But anywho, the two bills that we're going to talk about, they aren't exactly new. They've kind of been around for a while, but they seem like they might be gaining some level of traction given the push for police reform last year and criminal justice reform last year. We had talked about some parole reform stuff a few months ago that seemed like they're starting to bubble to the surface. So there's two bills that are coming out, and this isn't. When we talked about parole reform on a previous show, we had talked mostly about after release. How do we make sure that the community's safe after release, but also we're not sending people back to jail for tiny minor infractions that don't actually matter. How do we kind of balance those two, community safety and not sending people back to prison when it doesn't make any sense. But these two bills are kind of before that process. Who is eligible for parole, and then how do you determine if someone who's up for parole should be released? So one is called it's an elder parole bill, right? And what it does is it says that any inmates who are aged 55 and older can go before the parole board regardless of the crime that they've committed, so no matter how bad or how little, as long as they've served at least 15 years of their sentence. And then the board also considers their health, right? So if someone committed murder at age 50, they still have to serve 15 years of that sentence. They're not going to be up at age 55. So that's one of the things that I've kind of seen about this is people seem to be misunderstanding what it does a little bit. And there are, for sure, things that make me a bit that give me a bit of pause on this, and I'll address those issues. But, it's someone has to serve at least those 15 years. So if they committed murder a couple years prior to this, at like 50, 52, 53, they're still not going to be up for parole for a while, right? But what this would do is say, someone who committed a murder or other very serious crime that justifies decades in prison at age 18, 19, 20, and they've been sitting in prison for 20, 30 years at that point, their entire adult life, that person, if they were convicted of something where they have a life sentence, where they would expect to spend the entirety of their life there, they would be given a chance at parole, even if their sentencing structure previously said that they don't get a chance at parole. And I like that idea, right? I like the idea that if someone has been in prison for decades, even if it's a very serious crime, if they did something stupid when they were 18, 19, 20 years old, they lost their head, they hurt some people, it's a serious thing, but maybe they're a different person decades later. Maybe they regret what they've done. Maybe they've matured. Maybe they're, again, dumb. They're a dumb thug who was involved in gang life or something like that, and they got caught up in that. They hurt someone. Is it enough to have them serve several decades in prison? And the question that I know is going to come up, because I know people are thinking about it, because this is the objection is that still justice, right? If they were given a life sentence, should they be given a chance to be released, even if they've changed, even if they've spent many years in jail, even if what they did they regret? Is that still justice for the victims to have them released even decades later? And how do we determine who gets released? And there's a separate bill for that too, which I probably won't get to until after the break. But with this one, I get this, right? For that type of case, that people change over time, and then that is not a good use of taxpayer money to keep someone in prison. They're in prison from age 20 to age 55. We're going to keep them in prison another 30, 40 years after that. Does that make sense? If they're a different person, if they are not a threat to the safety of other people at this point, does that make sense to still keep that person in prison, to still keep us paying for that? And no, again, the other side of that is that justice for the victim? How are the victim's family going to feel about some of these folks being released from prison? But again, I think about this as a taxpayer too. I don't want to have to pay for that. It doesn't make sense to pay for that. My big question in all these things is that person who's going to be released past age 55, are they going to be a danger to the people around them? And what this doesn't do, and again, there's some weird misconceptions about this I've seen. People like, oh, we're just going to release everyone who turns age 55 from prison. No, it gives them a parole board hearing. That's what this seems to do. It doesn't say, yes, we are automatically going to release those people at age 55. Not what's going on here. And if that were the case, I would be against that, because there's some people, they might be 55 years old, but it's probably still not safe to release them out into the community. There might be some people that you really don't like. Do we release is the Golden State Killer still that guy that they caught? Do we release that guy from prison? No, probably not. Do we release these serial killers from prison? No, maybe not. Maybe not that they might still hurt some people. But should, again, that person who hurt someone, got a long sentence, but has fundamentally changed after decades, should they get another shot to plead their case that they should go free? I think yes. I think that's something we have to do, because it's not, when we look at prison sentence, it is not just the consideration of the victim's family. It's society, it's taxpayer costs, it's everything. What do we do with these older people who are sitting in prison, who are no longer capable of committing some of the crimes that they may have committed that got them there in the first place? Why should we keep paying for that? Why should we keep them in there when our prisons have a lot of people? Doesn't it make sense to get them out? And that's the question I'm asking today. If you have thoughts on that, though, I do want to hear from you. And I know I'm getting some comments online, too. I do want to hear from you. Give me a call, 585-346-3000. That's 585-346-3000. And we're going to be going to a break in a few minutes, but I'm putting that number out there, so I want to hear from you, really. I'm like, this doesn't sound totally unreasonable. But I would get in certain situations where we might not want to release someone, either out of consideration of the victim's family or out of safety for your community. Give us a call, 585-346-3000, 585-346-3000. We're going to be back with more on A Free Solution in a few minutes.
Your business relies on computers and technology to operate. Slow, unreliable networks and servers can cause unplanned downtime and affect your bottom line. The experts at SimpleTech Innovations are here to help. Their preventative maintenance program ensures that your computers and network are kept up to date and monitored for any issues, keeping your business running smoothly. They also help clients achieve HIPAA, PCI, and New York State cybersecurity compliance to keep your network safe and secure. Whatever your business IT needs are, SimpleTech Innovations should be your first call. They've won the Best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. Call them today for a free consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. SimpleTech Innovations.
The Finger Lakes Castle team is in its 7th decade of factory direct service to the service professional. From cleaning the ins and outs of your vehicle to keeping you on the road, Castle's got you covered. Castle makes streak-proof glass cleaner, FDA-registered sanitizers, and EPA-registered hospital-grade disinfectants. Remember, when you need to keep it clean, use what the pros use. Castle. Accept no substitutes.
Castle keeps it clean.
A message from the National Police Association. It used to be that any able-bodied person would offer to assist a police officer in danger. Now, passers-by are more likely to take a video. There's a better use for your phone when an officer's in trouble. Call 911. Tell the operator where you are and what you see. Then, start your video to provide evidence later. To learn more about how you can assist law enforcement, visit nationalpolice.org. That's nationalpolice.org.
Why do businesses choose to move their website from Wix and Squarespace to SimpleTech Innovations? Maybe it's their excellent customer service or attention to detail. Maybe it's their ability to give a truly customized solution. Or perhaps they just like the fact that SimpleTech is a local small business that builds great relationships with its clients. Whatever the reason may be, you can rest assured knowing that the local team at SimpleTech has your best interest in mind when building or updating your website. They're hands-on and love helping customers achieve their goals. But don't take my word for it. They've won the Best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. If your website doesn't match your dreams or isn't achieving your goals, give the professionals at SimpleTech Innovations a call today for a consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. SimpleTech Innovations.
A free solution.
Welcome back to A Free Solution. I'm Kevin Wilson, your host for today. Thank you so much for joining us. We're here live on WYSL, which means that you, the listener, can call in. Give us a call, 585-346-3000. That's 585-346-3000. If you want to participate in the conversation, you can go live on air or just leave a message with our producer and pass it along to me. Either one is A-OK. Or, of course, you can comment online too. Thanks again, folks listening online, for listening in. We have a comment from Nemo who says, my cousin spent most of his life in prison. It was only when he got out and started hanging around good people that he changed. I mean, that's part of it too. And the hope is too that, you know, post-prison where, well, frankly, there's a lot of bad folks in there too, that they get rehabilitated somehow. Like, again, this goes back to, you know, my longer show on, you know, what is the goal of prison, right? Like, is the goal of prison to punish people? Is it to keep bad people out of society? Is it to rehabilitate people? What's the goal here? What are we trying to accomplish? Why are we spending all this money on prisons? And that goal might be any combination of those three things too. It might be, you know, some people we need to really keep away from society because they're dangerous, they're going to hurt people, and if we let them out, they're going to hurt more people. Some people, you know, they're bad, dumb, stupid in context, but If they get a bit of support, they'll get out and maybe be fine, contribute to society again, have a job, own a business, do whatever. Other comments. Will Phillips says, as almost always, it depends. According to Nima, it worked for a brother. That is great. I just found out this week that the man that shot Reagan was released in 2016. Oh yeah, I forgot his name now. Man, I'm gonna forget his name. I have to Google it. Someone will have to tell me. He now has his own YouTube channel. I don't think he should be allowed out. Hinckley was released from institutional psychiatric care on September 10th, 2016, with many conditions. Right, yeah, and so that's one of those tough cases too. Like in the letter that the Monroe County DA puts out, she lists like the Son of Sam killer, right, David Berkowitz. Okay, so maybe that person gets some scrutiny in this. Again, someone getting parole doesn't necessarily mean they're getting out. And yeah, some people, maybe they're legitimately not safe to let out. I don't know. I have no idea. But other people, again, I think people change over time. For goodness sakes, I've changed so much in the last 10, 15 years. Not even that old, but people change after decades of time. In theory, again, we would hope that not everyone who goes to prison is irredeemable. Even people who've committed serious crimes, including, assault, murder, whatever, I would hope that over time we can figure that out. And again, the question becomes, too, for those types of folks, for someone who has, taken the life of a family member, for the victims, is when is enough time good enough? When is enough time okay? Does it compromise the sense of justice for the victim's family? Does it compromise their safety for the victim's family for someone to be released? And I understand that criticism, especially of this, the elder parole law, and then the combination with, so there's another proposal called the Fair and Timely Parole Act. And what it does, just roughly, is it basically says that when someone comes before a parole board, that the conditions that they should consider for parole is that whether or not their record for and in prison demonstrates that there's a current and unreasonable risk that the person will violate the law if released, that can't be mitigated by parole supervision. So basically, like, what the parole board's supposed to consider is not necessarily like what was the nature of their crime, but rather, if we were to release this person today, are they going to go out and commit more crimes even if mitigated by parole supervision? So again, you have parole supervision, you have to go in and check with folks, check with your parole officer frequently, right? Which, again, the other show we talked about, like, that system's a little bit it's difficult to navigate for many people. And I've had friends who have people I've known who've been on parole, and it's tough. If you miss something, you have a shift at work, doesn't matter. You got to drop everything you're doing to make sure that you meet those conditions. It's tough. And if you mess up in even the smallest way, there's a chance you're going back to jail. So, very serious thing. So, the problem people have with kind of both of these together, and I'm going to kind of get to summarizing what the Monroe County District Attorney Sandra Dorley said in her letter, is you got people being people who are going to be up for parole at 55, and then at the same time you're changing how parole is evaluated to say that it's less important what crime is committed and what conditions were set at sentencing, and more, do they present a danger now that can't be mitigated by parole supervision, right? So you get all, and then the DA lists a number of people who could get released in our county, and a number of people in New York State who get released. Some serial killers, some people who only committed crimes a handful of years ago. People were still like in their 40s when they committed a crime, so they could be out in a few years. Okay, yeah, no, that's all stuff to consider too, right? And again, that is is a tough thing to figure out, and I don't want to. I get a bit frustrated when people on the progressive side immediately dismiss the needs and the views of the victims, families in this, because I don't want to be glib about this, right? Like, I think that this is worth discussing. I think that is worth considering whether or not people should get out, even if they've committed a serious crime, right? And I got a comment from Valerie, says the parole system in Monroe County is broken. Yeah, Valerie, I'd love for you to elaborate more. Again, give us a call, 585-346-3000. If anyone has any specific knowledge about this too, or has been on any side of the system, would love to hear from you. 585-346-3000. Where is I going with this? So I don't want to dismiss the needs of the victims, but also, again, does this make sense to pay for from a taxpayer perspective? How many years of someone's life is it justified to take in vengeance? And does that person actually present a threat, a danger to society if they're released? I think all those are reasonable considerations for this. I think this is something that I would like, and again, I'd like progressives to understand the other side of this, and I would like conservatives to also understand, does it make sense to keep someone in prison indefinitely? You know, and I think it's something too, like, okay, if someone at age 35 kills their spouse, 20 years later, it was a crime of passion or whatever, right? Does it make sense to still keep them in jail forever and ever? I don't know. I don't know. It depends on circumstances, I suppose. It sounds like we have a call. Jake from Rochester?
Yeah, how's
Jake?
it going?
Good. What's on your mind, sir?
I think that not offering parole it can create a system in the prisons themselves where people no longer have something to lose, and it can create more violence in the prison themselves, you know?
Oh, that's an interesting thought. You know, I even think about that. Like, if there's no chance you're ever going to get out ever, do you start thinking, does it matter what I do here? If I hurt people in this prison, doesn't matter. I'm not getting out anyway. So if you create positive incentives for people to have an opportunity to be released, do they behave better in the prison system? Is that where you're...
Also, keeping them in there indefinitely obviously takes a toll on the taxpayer dollar, but at the same time, like, it almost makes just as much sense to just use the death penalty rather than keeping them in prison forever.
Yeah, you know, that's well, I mean, that's a whole other discussion, but yeah, no, I mean, that's an interesting point, because what ends up happening with the death penalty is that, well, two things. One is it ends up taking a very, very long time. It's a lot of appeals, ends up being more expensive right now than keeping someone in prison. And my worry, you know, I'll be honest, Jake, with the death penalty is that state governments have gotten it wrong way too often. They've you know, it's
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, they've killed some people that, you know, we get some DNA evidence out and like, oh, we killed the wrong person now. That was not the right guy. And you can't undo that. And so that's my critique of the death penalty is
Well, yeah, all I really wanted to say was that I think that offering parole, or at least a chance at parole, gives people hope, and it can help them actually become rehabilitated, you know.
Yeah, no, Jake, I think that's an excellent point. Definitely something to think about. So, Jake, thank you so much for the call. And again, if anyone else has thoughts on this, we'd love to hear from you. Give us a call, 585-346-3000. That's 585-346-3000. You know, what we're talking about today is we're talking about parole reform. Two different bills that are causing some concern for folks is the elder parole reform, where at age 55, if you've served at least 15 years in prison, you get a chance at parole. And then in combination with that, if this ends up passing, is the Fair and Timely Parole Act, which, again, allows, it kind of shifts how parole boards are supposed to look at the conditions for release. And it changes it from being able to evaluate what crimes they committed beforehand. Supposedly, you know, again, I don't want to pretend like I fully understand every aspect of a bill. I'm not a lawyer. But, just looking at it from a layman's perspective, it looks like they're changing it so it's based on community danger. All right. So when we come back, we'll talk about this a little bit more. And again, we'd love to hear your calls on this, 585-346-3000. Thank you, Jake from Rochester, for calling in, 585-346-3000. We'll be back with more from our free solution in a few minutes.
It's Dan Bongino, weekday afternoons. AM 1040 Avon Rochester, FM 92.1 Rochester, and FM 95.5 Spencerport.
Here's the latest forecast from the News 10 NBC Weather Center for tonight. We'll see increasing showers, maybe even a thundery downpour towards morning. Temps tonight in the 50s to near 60 on Thursday. Not a complete rain out, but there will be beneficial rain at times with numerous showers and maybe a couple of downpours and a gusty thunderstorm or two through the afternoon. So keep an eye to the sky for that. Temperatures on Thursday in the 70s. I'm Rich Canilia, WYSL.
At Victor Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram Anthony Drive off Route 96 in Victor. Savings are warming up just like the weather. Like the 21 Jeep Gladiator Crew Cab 4x4 pickup, $279 a month for 42 months. A 21 Jeep Grand Cherokee Laredo 4x4 is just $229 a month for 36 months. Employer's existing Grand Cherokee lease and be returning lessee. The 2020 Jeep Renegade Latitude 4x4 is only $199 a month for 36 months. Must be Conquest or returning lessee. The 21 Ram 1500 Classic Warlock Quad Cab 4x4 pickup is just $189 a month for 36 months. Must be Conquest or returning lessee. Use 3 Ram coupons while supply lasts. Jeep, America's iconic 4-wheel drive brand. $2,500 cash or trade and other conditions apply. Get full details from the dealer, equipment, and MSRP vary by model. We're here to fully serve Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, and Ram customers in Victor, Canandaigua, Macedon, Fairport, and throughout the Metro and Finger Lakes. Get out of the house and get that new ride you've been wanting. Victor Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram, 6560 Anthony Drive in Victor.
As the snow disappears, your lawn and all the winter debris is revealed for all the world to see. Want to save on gas and repairs and have more time with your family this summer? Let Cook's Landscaping and Lawn Mowing take over. Instead of servicing, maintaining, and replacing lawnmowers, string trimmers, and tools, Cook's saves you time and money by mowing your lawn automatically whenever it needs it. Pruning, trimming, and mulching, whatever is needed. Need more extensive landscaping? Cook's does it all. From lawn installation for those new homes to plantings and design. Cook's also does paver patios, walkways, retaining walls, and creative entryways. Also featuring natural rock and fieldstone to welcome visitors to your home or business. Water garden installation too. Don't spend those precious sunny days riding around on a lawn tractor or horsing around with a hedge trimmer. Call Cook's Lawn Mowing and Landscaping and reclaim the nice weather for you and your family. It's affordable and easy. No obligation free estimates from locally owned Cook's Lawn Mowing and Landscaping. 329-8175. 329-8175.
Your business relies on computers and technology to operate. Slow, unreliable networks and servers can cause unplanned downtime and affect your bottom line. The experts at Simple Tech Innovations are here to help. Their preventative maintenance program ensures that your computers and network are kept up to date and monitored for any issues, keeping your business running smoothly. They also help clients achieve HIPAA, PCI, and New York State cybersecurity compliance to keep your network safe and secure. Whatever your business IT needs are, Simple Tech Innovation should be your first call. They've won the best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. Call them today for a free consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. Simple Tech Innovations.
To celebrate State Farm's surprisingly great rates, we gave this song surprisingly great lyrics.
State Farm, prices made just for you. That's what I said now. Prices that surprise you. Just go ahead now. Keep that money in your pockets.
Call State Farm Insurance Agent Christina Breen-Hale today, 225-8480.
Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
Sheriff Thomas Doherty would like to remind us that motorcycle safety is a two-way street involving not only the motorcyclist but also the drivers of other vehicles. About 1/2 of all motorcycle crashes involve another motor vehicle. Nearly 40% of these crashes were caused by the other vehicle turning left in front of the motorcycle. Carefully check your mirrors and blind spots before merging or changing lanes. Motorcyclists must take responsibility for their own safety, but other drivers need to actively look for them. It is very important that riders wear a DOT-compliant helmet, so let's remember to share the road safely.
Mitchell Pearson Jr. Realtors Incorporated was founded in 1972 to offer comprehensive real estate services throughout the greater Rochester and Finger Lakes areas. And Mitchell Pearson will touch numerous nonprofits, including the United Way, Pittsford Volunteer Fire Department, the New York Warrior Alliance Wounded Warrior Program, Mercy Flight, and the Challenger World Series. They truly live up to their motto. Attention, care, effort, integrity have always been the cornerstone of their approach to helping you. Remember the name, Mitchell Pearson Jr. Realtors.
A free solution.
Welcome back to A Free Solution. I'm Kevin Wilson, your host for today. Thank you so much for listening today. We're live until 1 p.m. on WYSL, which means that you, the listeners, can give us a call, participate in the discussion, either live here on the radio or just passing it along to producer. Either one is fine. Give us a call, 585-346-3000. That's 585-346-3000. Or leave us a comment online as well. And if I can, I'll read it off on air, too. Shout out down the line to our friends listening over at WACK out in Newark and WENY, the Patriot down in the Southern Tier. Appreciate y'all listening today. And our podcast listeners. Again, our growing podcast audience. Thanks for listening here, wherever you're listening. If you listen to the podcast later, that's totally cool, too. You can find it at WYSL1040.com or search for A Free Solution on any podcast app, and you'll find us here. And if you want to leave feedback, contact at afreesolution.com. Okay, so just wrapping up the discussion on the parole reform stuff, and then I'll get to it again. What prompted this discussion for me is I saw the letter from Sandra Dorley, the Monroe County District Attorney, who generally I like Sandra Dorley, and in fact, when I was chair of the County Libertarian Party, we'd endorsed her for a handful of reasons. I think she's a very thoughtful and overall good DA, generally. Yeah, but I have some criticisms, and this being one of them. She says in the letter that she supports some aspects of parole reform, but doesn't like these two things, and then again scares us with a bunch of people who could be released. Again, the question for folks like her, for other opponents of parole reform, and for people who are thinking in an actual critical way about the purpose and goal of the criminal justice system, the question I have for you is, again, what is prison supposed to do? What is it supposed to do? Is it to keep bad people separate from us? Maybe sometimes. Is it to punish people who have done something bad? Is it to rehabilitate them and get them back into society? And how do we hold all three of those ideas or apply them to specific situations? Again, I would say that there's a limit to how much we can ask our criminal justice system and us, the taxpayers, to pay for vengeance, to pay for justice. How many years is it appropriate to take for someone taking a life, for taking away all the years away from a person? How many years can we put them in prison? How much should we pay for that as a society, as taxpayers? Does it make sense to keep someone in prison 60, 70, 80 years? And the other part of this act I didn't mention, and just shouldn't be an afterthought, but it is what it is. With the Elder Parole Act, health is also a consideration too. So if someone is like dying of cancer and they're in prison, they may release them. Part of the cynical part of me kind of thinks that is not merely a compassionate thing. It's also it could be like a money thing. Like the prison system doesn't want to be the one to have to pay for their medical care. That's just the cynical part of me. And so that's why there's a push to release people who are sick. But part of it's, could be, they're 85 years old. They've served 40 years in prison already. They're dying of cancer. What do we really need to keep them in there for? Not going to do anything at that point. That's just, my final thought on that. Oh, interesting one. Nima says, privatize prisons with rewards for reforming prisoners. Okay, all right. And again, that number, if you want to call in, is 585-346-3000. And, it's so interesting. I had this discussion with the guys on the Liberty Show a while ago, and I think I did like half a show on this one too, for a free solution. And, Alex Merced, who is the former vice chair of the Libertarian Party, actually changed my mind on this issue, because I used to think there is no way, zero way, it is ethical to have private prisons. You should not profit off of keeping someone in prison. But that thought, if you have private prisons who get rewarded for having prisoners do better post-release, and that's how they're able to make more money, get them out quickly and then make sure they don't commit crimes, and they get a bonus if they haven't done anything in 5-10 years, whatever. That's their model. Is that sustainable? Does that make sense? Instead, yeah, I remember when I talked about that, because Joe Biden had put out this executive order saying he was shutting down private prisons, and progressives get all excited about this. Yes, private corporations shouldn't profit off of keeping people in prison. Well, the fact of the matter is, a lot of towns and governments make money off of keeping people in prison too, in a sense, right? Like there's a lot of towns in New York State that is their livelihood, and I get that. I'm not a prison abolitionist. I feel like there are some necessary use cases for prisons, but I don't particularly like that entire towns, including ones I've lived near or in, are so reliant on keeping people incarcerated that if that prison were to leave, the town may literally not, survive. Or a lot of businesses would probably leave. That's not healthy either. I don't think that's any better or more moral than a private corporation or some executive at a private corporation making money off of keeping someone in prison. Someone's always making money. Warren's still making money. Guard is still making money. Someone's making money off of this. In either way, whether it's a private corporation or a government-run prison, us, the taxpayers, are paying for that. And so all I ask is that if we're going to have this system, that we be judicious in making sure that we are spending as little money as possible to keep us safe. And I would prefer to have people out, not in prison. It's a better thing, as long as they're not, again, a danger to others. That's my general preference. And again, I recognize that they're victims of crime, so they're going to feel differently than that. But I would like to not spend ourselves into oblivion. That's also important. I'd also not like to keep people caged. We have a lot of people caged for nonviolent crimes, for things I don't even think should be crimes, like the drug war, which, touch on that in the next segment too. A new thing coming up related to drug war. So yeah, I'm actually in favor of privatizing some prisons if you set up the right incentives. If you have bad incentives where you just make a whole bunch of money, that they get paid based on the number of beds that they're filled, you create a lot of perverse incentives for those private prisons to keep people there, to find reasons to keep people incarcerated longer. That's not good either. So we don't want that. You set up the incentives right, then it's a good thing. That's how we can do a bit better here. Now, is that going to be politically popular? No, of course not. Democrats ain't going to do that. Never going to do that. And again, I don't think there's any political will to do that outside of maybe the libertarian community. I know, but if I'm wrong on that, either in my vision for how this could work or in the political ability to move towards privatizing prisons, I'd love to hear from you. Leave me a comment online on A Free Solution, the Facebook page, or A Free Solution, the YouTube channel, or, of course, give us a call, 585-346-3000. That's 585-346-3000. So that's more or less all I've got for the parole reform stuff. I think we're going to be hearing more from that. We'll see if this actually goes anywhere. I don't know if it will, because a lot of times these things start to get some momentum and then they get stuck. Because we see if you don't find ways to make sure that we're making good decisions about the type of folks who are released from prison, that can present a danger to us. And then we see these situations where, we may have, 100 people released, 95 of them are fine, but the 5 that you released create new victims. That's important. That's not something we could just dismiss and say, well, not a big deal. No, of course it's a big deal. It changes people's lives in a bad way. All right, so thanks again for joining us here on A Free Solution. Give us a call if you want to participate. Got one more segment coming up, 585-346-3000. We'll be back with A Free Solution in a few minutes.
Why do businesses choose to move their website from Wix and Squarespace to SimpleTech Innovations? Maybe it's their excellent customer service or attention to detail. Maybe it's their ability to give a truly customized solution. Or perhaps they just like the fact that SimpleTech is a local small business that builds great relationships with its clients. Whatever the reason may be, you can rest assured knowing that the local team at SimpleTech has your best interest in mind when building or updating your website. They're hands-on and love helping customers achieve their goals. But don't take my word for it. They've won the best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. If your website doesn't match your dreams or isn't achieving your goals, give the professionals at SimpleTech Innovations a call today for a consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. SimpleTech Innovations.
Hi, my name is Ryan Bourne.
And I'm Danica Bourne.
And we're the owners of South Coast Tax. We would like to thank our Lord for protecting us from evil. Psalm 91 states, He is my refuge and my fortress, for He will rescue us from every trap and protect us from deadly disease.
South Coast Tax are Christian-based tax accountants and attorneys who specialize in releasing bank levies, wage garnishments, and filing complex tax returns. We are the leaders in acceptance of offers and compromise with awesome results.
We are also a small firm who will treat you like family and not just a number.
Call us today at 1-800-TAX-1176 for a free consultation, and we'll take the time to explain all of the programs that you qualify for in order to allow you a fresh start.
In John 8:36, so if the Son sets you free, you will be free indeed. And one way we can achieve that is by being debt-free. So let us help you today. Call us at 1-800-TAX-1176, and together we can help achieve this goal by putting the IRS tax debt behind you for good. Again, that number is 1-800-TAX-1176.
Your business relies on computers and technology to operate. Slow, unreliable networks and servers can cause unplanned downtime and affect your bottom line. The experts at SimpleTech Innovations are here to help. Their preventative maintenance program ensures that your computers and network are kept up to date and monitored for any issues, keeping your business running smoothly. They also help clients achieve HIPAA, PCI, and New York State cybersecurity compliance to keep your network safe and secure. Whatever your business IT needs are, SimpleTech Innovations should be your first call. They've won the best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. Call them today for a free consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. SimpleTech Innovations.
A free solution.
Welcome back to A Free Solution. I'm Kevin Wilson, your host for today. Thank you so much for joining us. Appreciate you being here. And got this last segment here. We're here live on WISL until 1 p.m. Give us a call, 585-346-3000, 585-346-3000. Leave your comments online. One other aspect of this criminal justice reform, parole reform, all this prison reform stuff coming up too is the voting thing too. Should people who used to be incarcerated be able to vote? Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, if it's to me, if you did your time and you're released, you should probably be able to vote. That's That's all I really have to say about that. You know, I mean, if it's, I think the question's a bit more difficult for people who are currently in prison, but I think people who are outside of prison, you did your time, you served your punishment, you should probably be able to vote. That's where I'm at. You know, I think that's fine. You know, it's if you want to hear someone talking about should people in prison be able to vote, there's a guy named Aaron Comey who's an activist down in New York. He has a very interesting story. Maybe I'll have to have him on some, but interesting story of his mental health crisis, some crimes he's committed, and his journey to recovery, and you know, so he has some interesting thoughts on reform and release from his perspective, and also being able to vote. And I know he's an activist and thinks that people in prison should be able to vote. So I don't know. That's but if you want to hear that perspective, go look that guy up. He's a interesting dude, lives down in New York, and yeah. So anyway, you know, the other interesting bit of news that I see coming up is it's kind of related to this stuff, right? It's not directly related to prison reform, criminal justice reform exactly, but the legalization of marijuana. You know, I don't know who put out a memo on this. I guess it was the Upstate Poison Center who's putting out a memo for this, saying that, oh my goodness, all these children are eating marijuana edibles. Listen, there's not really a retail market for this stuff yet, so the legalization of marijuana has not really anything to do with there being an increase in this stuff, right? Like, it's not, you can't go to the store down the road yet and go and buy edibles. If they're doing that, they are either making those on their own, or they are, you know, buying them from another state where they're able to do that, bringing them back. Doesn't really have anything to do with the change in New York laws. So supposedly, you know, there's a big jump in the last few months for this stuff. But again, let's look at what's actually changed, not the marijuana law. And I'll say, if you're the type of person who does that stuff, no judgment, do your thing, whatever. Keep it out of the reach of your kids like you would with like any medicine. You know, you keep your medicine up on a high cabinet, locked up. Keep your marijuana edibles up there too, especially since some of that stuff looks like candy. Like, it literally looks like, you know, Skittles or gummy bears or whatever. They're gonna think that's candy. Keep that stuff locked up. Don't be dumb. You know, like you would with anything else. Make sure your kids don't get it. I just seen a bunch of articles about it this week, so I'm going to bring it up. You know, that's your. I don't think that's an argument against legalizing marijuana, since it hasn't actually really happened yet. It hasn't changed in terms of how you're able to go and legally purchase this stuff yet in New York. A rise in kids eating this stuff just says that parents are being more reckless with it. If you're a parent who does that type of stuff, be careful. Don't be dumb. Last news item I got of the day too is it's Pride Month. Happy Pride Month, folks. And you know, I was gonna spend a bit more time at this. I ended up going on, as I often do, on more of a thing on my first topic on parole reform. I didn't get to much of the Pride Month stuff. You know, all I have to say about that is I think it's a good thing when the government doesn't tell people how to live their life, because I don't want them to tell me how to live my life either. That's my position on it. I am happy to see more people are taking that position on it, where I don't care. I don't want the LGBTQ community to seize the government and implement their agenda either, but I don't think that's fully happened yet. I think mostly we're in a position where most people are like, oh, you're gay now? Okay, cool. Whatever. That's fine. I don't care. Just do your thing. Don't hurt people. Don't take their stuff. And for the type of folks who are like, oh, why do we celebrate Pride anymore? Like, I get it. I still see But my friends, my people that I care about, there's still some folks who are not very nice to them just because of who they choose to be with. I don't think that's very nice. I think you should let them live their life. I don't think you should hurt them just because it is a man with another man or a woman with another woman. Don't harass them. Don't hurt them. Let them live their lives. That's the libertarian vision for society. If it's consenting adults doing what they want, leave them alone. Let them do their thing. It ain't hurting you. It's fine. It's not hurting your children. It's fine. Let them live their lives. And so I get the folks who are celebrating Pride, who still feel like they occasionally get harassed, but we've changed so much from where we were 20 years ago. Now we have every corporation in at least America and Europe changing their Facebook and Instagram avatars to rainbow flags, making money off of it. And again, I'm not immune from that. I'm in advertising. I get it. They're folks who are trying to signal that, and I get why that is still a thing. Part of it, a bit cringy to me. Again, I'm not part of that community, so who am I to judge, I guess, right? But part of it's like, no, that's a bit cynical. You weren't that way 30 years ago, but I can respect that. Again, if you are a company, you are doing your thing, you want to show that you're, I know it's a bit virtue signally, right? You want to show that you're being supportive. Well, okay. Well, I can accept that, and I'm more okay with it than the alternative of people being discriminatory. And the next big question is going to come up. Like, is there still a necessity for things like the cake debate, right? Is there still a necessity for the government to come in and say, yes, you have to bake that cake. You have to serve all customers, even if it is compelled speech? Or has the free market, has the culture shifted enough to just leave people alone? If you want to do that thing, then other people might say, well, I don't want to do business with someone who is going to act that way, who's not going to serve gay people, who's not going to serve my friends. Will they be punished enough by the market for the government to butt out? Should the government, in these situations, leave people alone? Should the government just allow people to make their own decisions about who they serve and don't serve, and what protected classes are necessary? Is it still essential for the government to have protected classes across the board at all? Or will society in the free market act appropriately and act in a way that supports people who just want to run their business, who don't want to weigh in on these cultural fights, who don't want to do things? Or it will be the opposite. It could be the opposite. That's the thing. But I generally weigh on the side of the government should probably butt out of this stuff. And so I'm probably not going to spend a ton of time talking about Pride Month, but it is something that is on my mind today, in that, I'm happy for my friends who are out, who can feel safe, and who can live their lives the way they choose without government interference. And I also think that the government should leave businesses alone. I think we can have both of those ideas exist at the exact same time. Support my friends, but also leave businesses alone. All right, that's all I got for all that stuff today. Thanks again for joining us on A Free Solution. Now, quick announcement. Tomorrow, Larry's not going to be on. I'm going to be on, and I'm going to be joined by my friend Tim O'Connor, who's going to be a much more regular presence on this show. So make sure you listen in tomorrow to A Free Solution. I will be on, and Tim O'Connor will be on. Talk to you then.